So Donald Trump actually granted a post-election interview now that the Supreme Court rejected hearing another bogus lawsuit about so-called voter fraud. This wasn't a real interview in the sense that Trump would be asked actual questions and put in a position to defend his claims with facts. It wasn't an interview in that sense. It was actually the opposite. It was an interview where Donald Trump was given the repeated opportunity to make claims not based in reality without being challenged on anything. And the interviewer is Brian Kilmeade from Fox News. Despite claims that Fox News has gone liberal now by Newsmax and OAN, Brian Kilmeade was there to ensure that no one for a second could think Fox News remains anything but a right-wing propaganda channel. And to be clear, there are countries where if you do an interview like this while claiming to be a reporter or journalist, you would be publicly ostracized and you might even have to resign from your job because you would be so ashamed, publicly shamed for doing an interview like this. In the United States at Fox News, I guess you sort of get an attaboy for doing an interview like this. In fact, Brian Kilmeade helped Trump spread the lies. In this first clip, Brian Kilmeade echoes the lie that Donald Trump has previously told, which is when Barack Obama left office and Trump took over, the military had no ammunition. They had no bullets. The cupboards were bare, which could not be more of a brazen lie. Take a look.
Thing you accomplished, you took over a military that was cut by 25%, that only had 3 brigades ready to fight and was out of bullets. What have you done in the 4 years since to change that?
Entirely rebuilt military like never before. New missiles and rockets and tanks and ships and planes. And we have the F-35s coming in by the hundreds, as you know. When I took over, we had a depleted military. We had no ammunition. I'll never forget a very overrated general coming to see me and saying, "Sir, we have no ammunition." I'm sorry. This is my first 2 days in office. Right. And I say no president should ever have to hear that, and no president should ever be spied on either. You know, so we set a lot of records, but we have a totally rebuilt, and our nuclear is now tippy top, and just hope to God you never have to use it.
Today,
the idea that our military was out of bullets is so absurd that it's hilarious if you understand the stranglehold that the military industrial complex has over our country and government and economy, including both Democrats and Republicans. It's a laughable claim. Trump, by the way, also slipping in the lie that Obama spied on his campaign, which at this point is a comedy. You know, it's a comedy meme outside of Trump world. Trump then went on to revive another completely bonkers notion that he previously tweeted about, which is that, listen, if you need proof that I really won this thing, election night, the bookies had me winning the election. And so clearly Joe Biden must have stolen it. This actually has to be seen to be believed, but in a sense, it's logical. Casino guy Trump says, look at the bookies for proof that this was stolen.
The election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening. I had won. It was 97, 98%. All of the bookies all over the world were saying the election's over. They wouldn't even take bets on it. And then all of a sudden around 11 o'clock, ballots start getting dropped. You ever see the graph where you go like this and then it goes up to the sky? Tens of thousands of ballots were being illegally dropped. The machines are the worst. Dominion, nobody even knows who owns it. These machines are controlling our country. So it was a rigged election. It was really a sham and a shame.
When you
at least now he's calling them massive ballot drops rather than massive dumps. But what he's saying is not any more logical. He lost the election, plain and simple. Now, this next clip is amazing because it's the height of projection. Trump says he's worried. He's worried, guys. Trump is worried that having an illegitimate president would be bad for the country. Now, when Trump says an illegitimate president, he means Joe Biden. But of course, Joe Biden won. So it's Trump who would be the illegitimate president if he somehow figured out a way to stay in power.
When you look at this fight, though, you have 77% of Trump supporters who believe you won the election, according to a Fox poll.
I've heard actually much higher numbers than that.
There's a rally right now in Washington for that. Do you worry about the country being divided as if it goes to inauguration and they still feel that way and you still feel that way?
No, I worry about the country having an illegitimate president. That's what I worry about. A president that lost, and lost badly. This wasn't like a close election. You look at Georgia. We won Georgia big. We won Pennsylvania big. We won Wisconsin big. We won it big.
But your guys
we won all of these states.
But do you think your legal team has proven that?
Well, we never get a chance to prove it because a judge will say, well, I'm sorry, you don't have standing. Like, how about me? Texas and all of these states, 18 or 19 altogether, they come in. Think how nice that is, where they actually come in and they say, we want to support you, sir, because you're important to this country. We want to support you. They go in and they say the states don't have standing and I don't have. I'm president of the United States. I just got 75 million votes, the biggest number of votes in the history of our country ever gotten by a sitting president.
By the way, let's not forget the absolute travesty of Brian Kilmeade setting up these softball questions for Trump. A true journalistic perversion. He should be ashamed of himself. But Trump continues to just be unable to be parodied because what he says is so ridiculous. He's worried we might have an illegitimate president. Yeah, I am too. We just disagree about who that would be. I think the guy who won would be the legitimate president. Trump thinks the guy who won would be illegitimate in that it's Joe Biden in his mind. Now, this next one is interesting. Brian Kilmeade actually asks Trump, who rigged the election? Now, if we actually, that's like question 1 point. If you first ask, what do you think of the results? And Trump says they were rigged against me. The first logical journalistic follow-up is who rigged it and how? And it starts to get a little more interesting.
I didn't lose. The election was rigged.
By who?
By the Democrats, and actually, interestingly, by the Democrats, but by local Democrats, meaning state Democrats. They outsmarted state Republicans. You know what I do? I do two things. I run a country, and we cut taxes, and we did all of the things, regulations, Space Force.
So that's Trump continuing to throw the state Republicans under the bus. Now, of course, a real journalist, if Brian Kilmeade were one, would have had a dozen follow-up questions based on this. He didn't. But it's interesting to see Trump throw state Republicans under the bus because that's code for people like Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, who was unwilling to do illegal maneuvering to try to steal this election for Donald Trump. And that's very interesting because it's not praise of Brian Kemp in any real way. Remember, Brian Kemp is a disgusting and depraved guy. But the point is, when even Brian Kemp is unwilling to help a Republican, it's because what Trump is asking for is that absurd. And by the way, Brian Kemp, I'm guessing, probably realizes no matter what he does, even if he were able to overturn Georgia, Joe Biden still wins. So why would he do it? This last one is genius. Trump says that they, I guess meaning Biden, Democrats, his opponents, they are winning on technicalities like the Supreme Court saying Texas doesn't have standing to bring the lawsuit, which we're going to talk about in a moment.
No judge has had the courage, including the Supreme Court. I am so disappointed in them. No judge, including the Supreme Court of the United States, has had the courage to allow it to be heard. The Supreme Court, all they did is say, we don't have standing. So they're saying essentially that the President of the United States and Texas and these other states, great states, they don't have standing. They didn't go into the evidence. If you would look at the evidence, thousands of pages of evidence, we have over 1,000 affidavits from people.
So Trump again mentions affidavits, which are neither here nor there. And when we looked at the affidavits, they actually read like comedy scripts. But the issue of standing is an important one. The Supreme Court did decide, did say Texas does not have standing to challenge the results in these 4 states. Now, in law, standing means you can demonstrate to the court that you're connected to the harm from the action that is being challenged or from the law that is being challenged. And that supports you being in the case. So if I want to bring a lawsuit, I have to have some kind of standing, some connection to I'm being affected in some way or whatever the case may be. For Texas to have standing in suing over the results in Georgia, Pennsylvania, whatever, you would have to say, and this is, I think, roughly the argument they made, well, if the Georgia and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, if those elections were fraudulent, it essentially devalues the election we held in Texas. It makes our election not matter. It disenfranchises Texas if other elections are fraudulent as they claim. It's very, very loose. And Supreme Court said no. So it's not a technicality. It's sort of a fundamental issue when it comes to one's ability to bring complaints to courts. And then absolutely last clip, and then we're going to move on. Donald Trump was asked, given that the Supreme Court did this, is it all over? And Trump says, no, we're going to keep going.
Found out late last night that the Supreme Court would not hear the Texas case. It did not have standing, according to them. Judging by your tweets, you're very disappointed in that. Is it over?
No, it's not over. We keep going, and we're going to continue to go forward. We have numerous local cases where, in some of the states that got...
Now, what are the next stages of keeping going? I don't know. So an absolutely disgusting interview, another one in the books for Donald Trump. There are fewer remaining. Sort of be pleased by that, at least with Trump as president. Later today, we'll talk about the electoral vote certification that's happening. And big announcement, January 1st, 2021, okay? First day of the new year. We are going to be doing a January 1, 2021 membership special, the likes of which this country has never seen. Now, because these discounts that we do are so huge, they may be illegal under a Biden administration. So before Biden comes in and says no more discounts that are this big, we are doing a January 1 single day membership drive. I would really encourage you to participate in this. To be notified, just get on our newsletter at davidpakman.com. Very, very easy. Get on our newsletter, January 1. You'll get an email saying, here's how you sign up. An amazing, amazing day it's going to be. And absolutely last thing, follow the David Pakman Show on Instagram, where you have the ability to see even more clips of the show. I want to let you know that our sponsor, Vincero Watches, is having a massive holiday sale on all of their products right now, and you can take advantage of it by going to davidpakman.com/watch. A brand new high quality wristwatch really is the perfect way to add something fresh to your style, whether it's for you or a gift for someone else. Vincero is a brand that has a serious dedication to the craft of watchmaking, which is really evident when you look closely at their watches. I wear Vincero watches myself. Lately, I've been wearing one from their Icon Automatic collection. It's the mesh matte black watch, and I love the sleek minimalist design. Their watches are actually sold at a fair price. Their mission has always been